Meanwhile, the big news from the UK was an unexpected general election result, which delivered a hung parliament. Journalists have described the vote as a gamble by Theresa May that's failed and which is now causing mayhem. Well, the Conservative Party lost its majority and conceded key seats to Labour. Theresa May now has to rely on an alliance with Northern Ireland's Democratic Unionist Party, which has just 10 MPs in the House of Commons. Well, that would be enough to get the Prime Minister a majority in Parliament, but speculation over her political future is now rife.
Prime Minister, are you going to resign, Prime Minister?
Mrs May at first said that there would not be an election, then she said that there would be one, and that got the campaign off to a very bad start, and she never recovered. She proved to be quite an unconvincing performer.
She lost the campaign, she lost the argument, she lost her way, and she lost her authority.
Well, the mandate she's got is lost Conservative seats, lost votes, lost support and lost confidence. I would have thought that's enough to go, actually.
People in Britain are sick and tired of austerity, they're sick and tired of cuts to their services, they're sick and tired of low pay, low wages.
Labour managed to shift the narrative of the campaign away from Brexit, about which we've heard relatively little, away from the economy indeed, where the Conservatives might be thought to be reasonably strong, and on to issues about the deterioration in public services, cuts in the health service, or apparent cuts in the health service, the whole question of schools and education.
Well, when the snap election was first called, it was presented by the Conservatives as being about one key issue, Brexit. But by the end of the campaign, terrorism had become a dominant concern after Britain was hit by 3 deadly attacks in as many months.
When you're in a situation where you have lots of sympathisers who could at any moment take a van or a knife from home and use that to commit a terrorist act, we need to have a different approach to these people, and it's not just something that should be left to the security services and the police anymore. I think there's a role for the wider public services, and there's a role for the public too. One of the problems that we have is that the sheer number of jihadis that are now in the country who have returned from Syria, and people who are involved in terrorist acts now, or in support of terrorist acts, or in helping to procure them, it's so large the security services don't seem to be able to keep track of them all anymore.
And the UK's general election result has generated more questions than answers over the future of Brexit. London and Brussels have already been bickering over the terms of their divorce for months, as RT's Peter Oliver reports.
After more than 40 years of being united,
the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union.
As breakups go, this one has the potential to be rather brutal. Already both sides have exchanged rather unceremonious salvos of "it's not me, it's you."
It isn't the EU which is abandoning the UK, it's the opposite in fact. They are abandoning the European Union.
Threats against Britain have been issued by European politicians.
The Commission was trying to bully the British people.
Will be difficult, complex and sometimes even confrontational.
The illusion that negotiations can be concluded quickly and painlessly.
Brexit in itself is punitive enough.
I was described by one of my colleagues as a bloody difficult woman, and the next person to find that out will be Jean-Claude Juncker.
Theresa May has said that in her opinion, no deal is better than a bad deal. That would be the so-called hard Brexit, while the European Union insists that the UK must pay separation fees that could run to eye-popping amounts.
It was 50 billion at one point, 60 billion, 100 billion. We have not seen a number.
Are we ever going to be paying £100 billion to leave?
No, we'll not be paying 100 billion.
Aside from that settlement and other financial issues to be considered, there's also what happens to EU citizens living in the United Kingdom, and what about those Brits living here on the continent? There's also the rights of Northern Ireland and the Republic. Will there be a border introduced? And who gets custody of Gibraltar? The island voted 96% to remain in last year's Brexit referendum, and some within the EU are suggesting it could be ceded to Spain. Not bloody likely, say British officials.
The sovereignty of Gibraltar is unchanged.
There cannot be a change in the status and sovereignty of Gibraltar.
There's no question whatever that our government will stand by Gibraltar.
With UK-EU relations strained before heading into this lengthy negotiation procedure, there has to be questions asked about what type of relationship will exist post-Brexit, and can London and Brussels just be friends?
We take a closer look at the diplomatic scandal over Qatar after this short break.